So, welcome to all the participants on the fifth day and the third session. Today we have once again the speaker, Professor Mininanda. She has given the lecture on the first day on research methodology. Today she is going to deliver the lecture on speaking skill for employability, and Madam is already known to you. So I just request and thank you, ma'am, for be here with us in the second time for the in this FDP. Thank you, ma'am, and
So
it's
good
over to you.
evening, everyone, and I'm happy to be here. Our lecture today is on speaking skills and employability. Both the things are so important to us in life. How we speak, how we convey to the other person, because speaking can build bridges. Speaking can make relationships, build relationships. Speaking involves friendship, and most of all, in today's time, employability. How do you get your job? You may be highly qualified, but if your speaking skills are not good, if your enunciation is not clear, then that is a problem. So, how best to speak to get a good job, to grow, and then job is the beginning. How to grow in that job, how to strengthen your roots in that job, and also how to help the institution that you're working in, the company that you're working in, the system that you're working in. How do you make it grow? How do you make it prosper? How do you make yourself, reliable and irreplaceable in any institution or company that you're working for? So, speaking skills and employability, I think that's a very, very important theme that has been given to me. You see, today, as business, both local and national, which has become global, business has become global due to the competitive world scenario. Competence in English speaking becomes imperative to secure a job. However much we may say it's not our language, it is not. But it is a language that is opening so many windows for us, so many opportunities for us. Speaking is an art. So, just as you learn art, art can be learned like a language. So, speaking can also be learned. How to speak better with practice, with dedication. You can improve your communication skills because speaking is an art. When skilled in speaking, we make an impact. Of course, we make an impression. Of course, we leave a footprint behind by the way we communicate, by the way we speak. Just as art makes an impact. If you remember in my last lecture on research methodology, I spoke about art, research in art, and I spoke about Picasso's Guernica, the Spanish Civil War painting, how that painting speaks to us about that historical time, about war, about the violence, and how it gives us a message. So, art also communicates. And when we communicate through language, that is a very strong, very impressive, and powerful communication. Human beings are meant to be interrelated. We are connected to each other. We have to remember that. So, human beings are meant to be interrelated and interactive, not isolated and alone. Remember what John Donne has said? No man is an island entire of itself. We are part of the continent, a piece of the main. So we together make this world. We are all interconnected. And that connection remains alive. It thrives with our communication. Speaking builds relationships and bridges. We need more bridges, believe me. And we need strong bonds in friendships, in homes, in families, in communities. Speaking builds bridges and relationships. So, what is this employability? It is the ability to get a job, and more importantly, to keep the job, to grow in that job, to become worthwhile in that job, and to make that institution and that company grow and progress. Employability entails certain qualities, which are, first of all, your qualification. Are you qualified for the job? Can you even go for the interview? For qualification and communication skills, reliability, that's very important. You have to establish your reliability even if before you make a physical appearance. Your CV is your reliability. The facts that you give about yourself, about your qualification, that is the measure of your reliability. Organization skills, how you can make that organization administer better, function better, grow better, and expand. Initiative, how willing you are to execute your idea, to be the first to take it ahead, to your initiative. Self-growth, not just about getting a job, but it is also about growing and learning in that job, developing in that job. Self-growth becomes very important, which is connected to the growth of the organization. Teamwork and leadership. So these are the qualities that are needed to be employed. Employability skills. For ESL students, oral skills involve language, how you speak, tone, pitch, and pronunciation. These are very important. You have to modulate your voice. And believe me, you can learn all this. You can learn all this through practice, through regular participation in classroom and outside. Speaking at the interview, the candidate would reflect his or her expertise, how good you will be for the job, how qualified, how right you are for that position. So, at the interview, you will reflect your expertise, your attitude. A good attitude will win you everywhere. You can go nowhere with a bad attitude. Experience and perspective. What experience do you have? And if you don't have experience, be ready to learn. Say, I'll gain experience here. I learn in this organization. So your perspective and attitude should be good. You should say, yes, I will help the institute to grow. The seeds of growth and flourish of English speaking skills are planted and nurtured in the classroom. The classroom becomes the foundation of your speaking skills because that is where you deal with the text. You deal with a very important person called teacher, who's your mentor, from whom you will learn not just how to speak, but attitude, perspective, and deportment. In the present pandemic time, the online classes that we're having right now, the online lecture, play a very important role. We are still bridging bridges. We are still building bridges. We are still extending a hand of relationship and friendship. So in such a scenario, pandemic or normal, please remember that compassion is the key for accessibility. In academics, in any job, be compassionate in your outlook. Don't be disdainful. Don't be haughty. Don't be arrogant. Be ready to be inclusive. Be ready to empathize with people. Empathize means have a sense of kinship, have a sense of connectedness with the other. English language courses in engineering colleges. This becomes very important. The English language courses in engineering colleges must be designed to hone this fundamental skill. Fundamental skill of reading, writing, speaking, listening, And for that, you must have adequate teaching hours. So a very well-defined syllabus that will initiate you into the whole program of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Teacher is the mentor and facilitator to build a real competence and to bridge the skill gap. Of course, there are gaps. All of us have those skill gaps. But in an environment of learning, of education, of dedication and commitment, both by the teacher and the learner, the student, you can bridge all those gaps. Because pedagogy is so important. To know your subject well and to prepare well and use language as a heuristic device. Heuristic to go and learn more, to seek more details, to find out more, to learn for yourself. Also remember, speaking is never effective in a vacuum. I don't know what is effective in a vacuum. Listening attentively is the key to promote language skills. As the Zen saying goes, you can pour tea only in an empty cup. If you're ready to receive, if you're ready to listen, if you're ready to understand. English enhancement program is designed, syllabus is designed to develop all the 4 skills, as I said just now: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So the syllabus becomes important, the hours that are given to you to teach, that is important, and of course, the classroom. The teaching and the learning is so important. What we need are innovative methods to elevate the students' skills. Innovative methods will combine interactive classroom sessions, group discussion, mock interview. Mock interview is also very, very important. And students' individual presentation. As a teacher, I've done all this in the classroom, and let me tell you, it is extremely helpful. Even storytelling, it gives you confidence in speaking. Listening, not just speaking now, you have to listen also. Outside the classroom, you have to surround yourself with different methods and strategies of learning to improve your communication skills. To listen to specific TED Talks, and other talks. There are excellent talks on different platforms, Manthan being one of them. Listen to these talks, to these philosophers, teachers, artists that may motivate you and inspire you and improve your vocabulary. What we need is to improve our vocabulary, the choice of words. As the very famous Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, in his meditation, he said, such words of wisdom, look well into thyself. There is a source of strength. Within you is all the inspiration, all the confidence. Mae West, that Hollywood star, he said, I speak 2 languages, body and English. Body, deportment, your attitude, the way you carry yourself in the interview, the way you carry yourself during the job, how refined as a human being you are, that is of most importance. Pablo Neruda, Latin American poet, Spanish, writing in Spanish, said, words alive again and giving life. It is words which give life. And Novakov also has said that words should be spoken or written in a manner that they convey the picture, they convey the image to you. So in the classroom, Role playing ignites the imagination of the students. When you have these different interactive sessions, these students' presentations, storytelling, so sometimes role playing in the classroom when you have a drama class, it gives them new ideas and bolsters their confidence to play a role, any role. When you inhabit another person in yourself, what happens? It's a flight of your imagination. It gives you a creative outlet. All this serves students in good stead when facing the interview panel. So when you are in different situations, you should know how to conduct yourself with confidence, with dignity, and how to speak about yourself truthfully. We need good teachers to impart quality teaching. Very important. The syllabus has to be good and also the teacher. Empowered by faculty building programs, teachers also need to be trained again and again through the different courses, and they have to be given a good remuneration. Dialogue in the classroom is the key. As R. Panikkar states, dialogue is an opening up of oneself, of knowing oneself. Dialogue with the other. When you articulate your ideas and thoughts and listen to the ideas and thoughts of the other person, this kind of a give and take, samvad, becomes very important. When one speaks in the interview, he must be truthful and logical. These two things are fundamental. I cannot emphasize them more. Truthful. Remember, I said truthful has to be right from your CV. And logical. Reasonable. What Habermas says, communicative rationality. What we need always, not just in the interview, but in all communications everywhere, a communicative rationality. This is possible when the candidate initiates a dialogue in the panel. I'm talking about the interview panel. When the candidate initiates a dialogue about his aspirations, experience, and emoluments, it's important to discuss how much you expect, the salary. It should all be clear cut. Nothing should be, obscure or unknown or, uncommunicated. Again, as Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, very just, very kind philosopher, he said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. And that, my dear students and scholars and faculty members, that is for all time. Do not say it if it is not true. Dialogic communication is sensitive to local situations. You see, different speakers, different backgrounds, different situations, different social and geographical contexts. And it aims to develop a sustainable dialogue based on differences and commonality. Differences will be there, but in all dialogue, aspire for, try and build a bridge towards commonality. What is common? The commonality. Raymond Panikkar asserts that dialogue is the optimism of the heart. When you have a dialogue, when you reach out to others, there is an optimism. Why? Because you want to build relationships, bridges. Gadamer says that all conversation requires one to move beyond oneself. It's not about me, I. Beyond oneself and recognize the other. Differences stand at the beginning of a conversation. Important because, as I said, the locations, situations are different. So, differences will be at the beginning of a conversation, not at its end. When a conversation is over, we have built on the commonalities, on the similarities. The differences don't matter. It's Not to say the differences are brushed aside or under the carpet, no. But those differences don't matter. Speaking for employability entails a dialogic communication, which focuses on both rational meaning and accepting differences, leading to hermeneutical meaningful. There has to be a meaningfulness at the end. To put it simply, when the candidate speaks in an interview, he opens up meaningful possibilities for himself. One must prepare thoroughly for job interviews. And this thoroughness will begin from the classroom. It's not that tomorrow is my interview or next week is my interview and I'm going to prepare now. No, the foundation of that, the preparation has begun long back. You'll only keep on honing that skill, refining it, making it better. Speaking for employability entails a dialogic communication which focuses on both rational meaning and accepting differences. To put it simply, when the candidate speaks in an interview, he opens up meaningful possibilities for himself. The training begins from the mock interviews in the classroom. Practice and reinforce your personal introduction. Oh, who are you? Talk about yourself. And please do not say myself. You have to say I am. Not the reflexive pronoun myself is. ABC. No, that's wrong English. To practice and reinforce your personal introduction, area specialization, and vision for the organization. You have to practice and you have to study about the organization before going for the interview. They will ask you, what is your vision for the organization? I'll come to those questions later on. Keep practicing these points. Keep practicing these points that they become very lucid. They become very natural for you. Practice them to the point of lucidity. Remember, speaking is an index to culture. Very important. When we speak, we are introducing the whole background of our culture, our family, our community, the education we have got, our friends, our outlook on life, perspectives. So, speaking is an index to culture. Linguistic anthropologists like Franz Boas and Edward Sapir stress the relationship between language and culture. Cultural patterns of a civilization are indexed in the language that expresses it. Tagore's Vishwabharati University in 1921 that indexed the ethos of Indian civilization. And what was that? It's ethos of Vasudev Kutumbakum. Tagore, when he set up the Vishwabharati, the whole world is my Vasudev Kutumbakum is my family. Judith Irwin recognizes language as social action. So we have language as culture, we have language as introduction to a civilization, and we have language as social action. When we speak in the interview and in the job, we must aim, as Edward Sayers has said, to speak truth to power. In all endeavors, we must try and speak truth and give truth more power, more strength, more validity. And who did this? Whose language was the language of social and political impact? All our political leaders. The language of Gandhi, the language of Tilak, Gokhale, Ambedkar, Sarojini Naidu, Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay. Their language becomes the language of. Now to further enable the students, institutions and colleges must open their doors. How, we need more methods, more strategies, newer methods, newer strategies. They must initiate tie-ups with tourism departments, health and hospitality, museums and coffee cafes to have a time-bound, bespoke training semester. And you tie up with these, with coffee cafe days, with tourism, with hospitality, and ask them to design a semester for you, and you go and join it. Students get equipped to fare better at the employment sector because they're open to newer environments, newer challenges. They will adapt to that challenge. They will learn and grow in that environment. Because when students learn in an open environment, it ignites them to meet new challenges. And how will you meet new challenges? When new situations are created for you, when a new scenario awaits you. So for all ESL students, the basic is your mother tongue, Matri-bhasha. Mother tongue and generic communication skills are to a larger extent transferable across languages. So that skill is transferable to other languages. You have to be skilled in your own mother tongue. So dear students and scholars and faculty members, when you speak, let it be a reflection of your education, of your culture, and of your innate goodness. Do not be loud and boastful about your experience. Do not disparage your previous job and employer. Don't think you'll get brownie points by disparaging the past and saying, no, here I am in the best place. Why? Because you have to speak the truth. In the workplace, establish good working rapport with everyone. With your refined communication, behavior, and deportment. Treat all workers at all levels with respect. And this means right from the janitor to the dean, from the lowest, why should we say lowest? From those who work at the ground root, the ground level, up to the highest point. We have to have the best communication with all of them. Now, I thought of some questions that can be asked and that are asked, for which you should be thoroughly prepared when you go for an interview. The most common interview questions will be, tell us about yourself. So when you go in for an interview, have a good introduction ready for yourself. And as I said earlier, don't say myself am. Myself this. No. I am. My name is. Okay. So have a good introduction about yourself ready, well practiced, and speak that out clearly. The best tone. Then they would ask you to describe yourself. And they would ask you how you're different from other people. What is it that makes you so unique and different from the others? So for all this, the introduction, what makes you unique, describe yourself, all these questions must be practiced and the answers should be ready with you. Another important question that they will ask you anywhere you go is very basic. They'll ask, why are you leaving your previous job? Why do you want to work here? When you go to work in any organization, do a good research on that organization. Know its assets. Know also the gaps that you can say, sir, I would like to work in this area and strengthen it. And I'm here because of these, qualities or these distinctive characteristics of this company, this organization. They will ask you what interests you to accept this position. What motivates you to accept this position in this company? Another thing, what are you passionate about? This is when your work and your other interests also come into play. Your other habits of sports, of art, of music, of the outdoors, of reading. You know, so what are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your free time? They will ask you why you're leaving your current job. Why do you want to join us? All those answers should be, very honestly and very cordially expressed. See, in any interviews, even where I've gone as a panelist, we ask them, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Two strengths and two weaknesses. So be prepared for that kind of question. Be prepared with those answers. Another question that is asked is, what are your goals for the future? How do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Or also, what are your goals for this organization? Where do you see it in the next 5 years? So in management and in another administrative, scenario, you have to prepare for the role that you can play in the growth and development of the organization. Then they will ask you, how will you overcome a difficult situation in a job? How will you overcome it? And they should also ask you your expectations of the salary range. How much emolument? They should ask you. You should be prepared to answer that also honestly. Looking at your qualifications, you should be able to assert that this is what I expect. They will ask you, why should we hire you? That is a very important question. Again, you can highlight your experience combined with your qualification, your experience, and your vision. They will hire you when you have a vision for the organization you're about to join. And they can also ask you, do you want to question us anything about the policy of the organization, about, uh, about the situation, the politics, whatever. You can ask them questions if they allow you to. Suppose they ask you, what makes you unique? Then you can say, the experience I've had in the past. I've had experience in retail. I've had experience in marketing. That kind of groundwork, that kind of a background will help me to do better with my experience. And what interests you about this position that you're going to accept? Say, suppose it's the position of the director. Read that up again. Know the background and say you're applying for this because this is the opportunity. These are the kind of opportunities it's going to provide you. And how you will learn from those opportunities and how you will take the organization forward through your effort. Weakness also, you have to be very careful. Don't say, be very careful about your weaknesses and strengths. And also say that these may be my weakness, impatience, or uh, getting angry, or and then also talk about the way you're going to work on these weaknesses to improve upon them. Now, what measures you will take to improve upon you? That's very important. That may be short-tempered, or I get tired, or I have no patience with some people. Then, at the same time, when you're talking about your weaknesses, talk about the measures that you will take to improve those weaknesses, to improve upon them. So always try and finish your answer with a positive note. Don't say I'm this and that and this is my weakness. Try and be very positive in your attitude and say, this is there, I know it is there, and I'm working on it, and I'm succeeding in overcoming this lapse of impatience or short temper or getting tired. Why should we hire you? This is very important. So that will give you a kind of a summary of, well, these are my qualifications, this is my past experience, this is what I'm bringing to the organization, and I hope to take this organization from A to B to C, to develop it in steps through my dedication, and not just, abstract ideas of dedication and hard work. You should have concrete points in mind that this is what I plan to do with the organization. These are the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I need to take in the next year or so to help the organization grow. This is very important. So you should have a vision for the organization. Wherever you go, to a university, to the corporate sector, to a law firm, to the hospitality sector, say, this is my vision. And have that as an inclusive vision. Have that as a very, full of development ideas, full of growth, full of prosperity. Have that kind of a vision for the organization. That will help you. Suppose you go for an academic interview. This is for the others. But when you go for an academic interview, they will ask you about your research. So prepare your synopsis of your theme very well. Have a very good idea that is in your mind, mental idea, so that you can talk about it, of the work that has already been done and how you're going to take the work ahead. What is the kind of research that you're going to do? Suppose it's there as an academic interview. Suppose it's there for foreign travel. Suppose it's there for some fellowship. So, what is innovative about your research? Why you have chosen that topic? How much work has been done? And how do you plan to take it ahead? What influences have you been exposed to? This can be asked in any interview across the board, anywhere. So influences are very important. What has influenced your work? What has influenced you to come to this point where you want to work here? You have enough breadth of experience. So talk about how you gained your experience, field experience or experience through researches, through your study, through the review of literature. What has been your role in developing research ideas and carrying them forward? You see, today, when our scholars also do their work, their research, they have to show within that research, and when they're winding it up in the final chapters, they have to show the way ahead. They have to show that this is not the end. My research is not the end of this study. How it is opening the pathways for other research. What other areas can be looked into? What other avenues, new ideas, new vistas that can be seen? Once this research is over, there is another. Hills peep over hills and Alps on Alps arise. It's the vista that is unending. This research might end, but it is the beginning to other kind of searches, other kind of study. In scientific research, they will ask you about the scientific work you've done, the experiments, the study. In statistics, they want to know the figures. So you have to be very thorough in your area of specialization. Whether it's in social sciences, in commerce, in law, in science, you have to be extremely thorough to know what kind of work you've done, what kind of influences have been there, the research that has gone into it, the learning, the documentation. They will ask you about, in the academics, about your published work, publication. As I said, when you speak, you have to speak truth to power. When you write, it has to be your original work. Of course, you will take references. Of course, you will be influenced by other work. Document them, acknowledge them, write about your sources. You will talk about your publications, be ready with answers for those. That these are my publications. What are you planning ahead? Other publications. They will also ask you if we hire you. There will be risks. There will be difficulties. There will be problems. How will you overcome these hurdles? Then in any, academic area, we can ask you general questions. How will this job help you achieve your long-term career plan? You need long-term career plans. You need to have some kind of a roadmap. So how this position here is going to make you realize and achieve your dream. So you know your dream. You should be able to articulate your dream and how the present job will help you to kind of move ahead in a more concrete way to the realization of your own dreams, your career plans. We will ask you about your specialization, your research area, the other influences, other philosophers in that area, some good publications that you have read on that area, not just what you have written, but also what you have read, you have researched. Then the university, they can ask you that if the university is keen to serve the wider community and economy, does your planned research have any potential in these areas? How will your area of research help your community, whether it's a university, whether it is a corporate house, whether it is a company, whether it is a startup? How will that research help it to grow and to grow in economic terms also, to strengthen in today's pandemic times, this becomes very important. How to sustain any endeavor, how to sustain a startup, how to sustain even institutions of long standing, which have been hit hard by the present scenario, economic, social, political, and of course the pandemic. How do you feel about translating your research into innovation or spin-outs? As I said, whether it's even in literature, we have to say the new openings. So how in any startup it is going to help other startups, how it is going to help other innovations. Can you give examples with what you have been enterprising? Can you give us an example of how you set this up? Describe in layman's terms why a research project is interesting and in 2 minutes. So again, you have to have, very concise and specific answers to these questions. The problems that you have faced in your research, how have you overcome those problems? How have you learned from those difficulties? What was the most productive period in your research career? Define how. What was most productive? What was most fruitful for you? He will ask you, why do you think you are the right person for this job? Anywhere, whether it's in the administrative or in academics, in the area of science or corporate, they will ask you, why do you think you are the right person? And that is why you have to do a thorough study of the background of that place where you're applying. See, because this organization is about these things, and I'm qualified, I'm experienced, I'm open-minded about what I can do to help this institution grow and to learn in the process, to have a good rapport with all my workers, with all my team members, and also always to work as a team. Remember, in life, it's not about you. It's about the whole community. It's about each one of us. Remember, never let the future disturb you. This is again very sage advice by Marcus Aurelius. Never let the future disturb you. Don't overthink. It will only make you nervous. You will meet it. We're talking about the future. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to. When, with the same weapon of reason, which today arm you against the present. The present you're dealing with in a rational way. The future also, however uncertain, however distant it is, you will meet it with the idea of your own rationality, logic, armed with good communication skills, confidence, and your own qualification. I think I'll rest my case here, and now my lecture is open to interaction. Or facing the interview board. So please share your own ideas now. It's open now to the participants. Yeah. Are there any questions? Are there any queries? I'm open to the participants now for their observations and queries and questions, whatever they want to share about their experiences in the classroom, while learning, while teaching. Yeah, is anyone there? Mrs. Halua, I'm waiting for some questions. Yeah. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Ma'am?
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, better.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yes, better. Yes. Are there any questions there?
Just a second, ma'am.
Questions, observations, any observation also? I want you to share your experiences with me.
Ma'am, I don't see any questions as such.
Yeah. This room is familiar to me. I've taken a lecture here before. Yes. Any observations? I would like some kind of a feedback.
Yeah, I think there are no questions. Ravi, are there any questions?
No questions, sir.
Okay.
It's not about questions, it's about observations or anything they want to share with me. Their own experiences.
Yeah, some participants, you can actually
Yeah.
share your experiences.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, there are some which have come now.
Yeah, good.
What is the best method to recruit teachers for a college?
For a college? Well, best methods actually they evolve with practice. A teacher who is, first of all, very, well qualified and who has good communication skills. Again, communication skill is, I think, the basic thing to hire a person.
There's another question. How to disclose our weakness to others?
Yeah, this is also important. You see, the weakness can't be something, very serious. Weakness can be something like impatience, getting angry, getting tired easily. So talk about such things, and you shouldn't be having other weaknesses, any other weaknesses that you have to confess in a job. So weaknesses will be something like I give up sometimes, I lose my patience, I lose my anger. But sir, I'm trying to work on this. I'm trying to work on making myself more calm. I'm trying to make myself more. So also, as I said, when you talk about your weaknesses, always try to give the measures you're taking to improve yourself. Always try and end on a very positive note that, yes, these are my weaknesses. I lose my anger, I'm impatient, or I lose interest. I don't say that. I think losing interest is a very serious flaw. You can say I get impatient. I sometimes I'm short tempered. Sometimes I have no patience with people who don't understand. But I'm trying to work on these. Try and always end on a positive note.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
Weaknesses can also be I feel nervous, I'm not always confident, something like that also. I'm not always confident, I get nervous easily, I lose my patience easily, I lose my temper. These are the things we can talk about. Yes, how to discuss salary, I think, is a good question that's come up. You see, this depends, as I told you, when you go for a job, have a good, do a good study of the whole organization, what, what scale of salary they're offering for your position. If it is, if you feel it is less than what you're expecting, when they ask you, you can say, sir, I'm so highly skilled for this job. I would like to be in this pay bracket. But that depends on how much you want the job and, whether you're, if the panel is ready to negotiate for the salary. This is actually an on the spot kind of decision you have to do. But you can negotiate in a very cordial manner by emphasizing your own experience, your own, expertise in the area, and convincing them that you are the best bet for that job, for that position. Yeah, I saw some questions popping up. They were interesting.
Yeah, how to prepare a good resume for employment?
That is a basic thing. Resume, you have to really work at it. Make one draft and second draft and third draft. And it should be, as I said, highlighting your qualifications. Of course, first of all, truthful. Highlighting your qualifications, highlighting your experience, your extracurricular activities, your publications. All the basics are there which have to be there. Do not miss out on any important detail, your latest publication, or your, even if it's a small duration of your experience in any other area, any other company, or a short-term course that you have given. All those important details that will enhance your, presentation, it should be there in your resume.
What hobbies are expected in interviews? What type of questions come up on
No,
this?
hobbies is something very personal. You cannot cook up a hobby. If your hobby is cooking, it is cooking. Even if you are a male, it's a big thing. You say, I like to cook. That's the way I relax. And when I cook, I listen to music. Or my hobby is gardening. Or my hobby is to go for trekking. You have to have a hobby. You can't cook, you can't just lie about your hobby. You have to have hobbies. You have to have some kind of a pastime, listening to music, or I go for trekking, or I like to go for a walk in the park. A very interesting question that popped up about goal and vision. That was very nice. I'd like to take it up. Goal can be of
Uh,
two kinds, short term and long term. And vision is more encompassing. It is more of an umbrella term. That my goal is that with these steps, with these goals, this is the vision, we will realize that vision. The vision is more comprehensive. It has a wider ambit. It's like a rainbow. And my goal is through these short-term goals, through these steps, how at every step, at every layer, I wish to accomplish this vision that I have. These are very important to keep a goal and the vision. Vision is the larger kind of expectation, the final expectation. And goal is how I will achieve that vision. Yeah.
Any reference books for good employability skills?
The net will be full of them. The net will be full of, this is, I'm talking through my own experience.
There's another question from Anuradha Mittal.
Yeah.
How to communicate if you're having a bad throat and you're coughing badly?
Oh, that is really a physical situation. That is really a dilemma. Anuradha, I'll ask you to first save your voice finally for the interview, to, you know, prepare in some way with that you will have to speak. You will have to speak. So have a hot drink before that, gargle properly, good medication. Bad throat is, but it has happened. It has happened with my own daughter when she was taking this interview for the PhD, in one of the central universities of India. And with the bad throat, even she could not hear properly. So she had turned her head in one way. She could hear with one ear, and you have to make the best of it. So the medication is there, gargling, have a hot drink, and steaming helps. Steaming helps you instantly. I'm talking from personal experience. I've gone through it myself. I've lost my voice, but I still managed in my lectures and in my panel discussions. I managed.
Thank you, ma'am. There are no further
There's
questions.
one question here: difficult situation in job. How to face it? Yes, there will be difficult situations. But when we're talking about difficult situations, remember, do not lose your poise. Do not lose your sense of dignity. Say, I'm having this problem, whether with the organization or with a person. But say, I'm working on it. As I said, do not specify the negatives. Talk about the measures for improvement and positive side. So say, yes, this is the difficulty I'm meeting, but I'm working it how to overcome it and how to overcome a hurdle, because life is full of hurdles. And we have to find a way to it or around it. So there is a difficult situation. Say it's about funding. Say I'm looking at other sources. Say I'm applying for this. And be optimistic. Remember, the mind can overcome any obstacle. This place between the ears, that can be the most positive, the most motivational place for you. And it can also be the most, weakening or defeating position for you. So think positively and speak positively. There is a difficult situation, sir. We cannot brush the difficulty under the carpet. We cannot close our eyes to it and turn our head away. No. Face that fear, face that difficulty and say, I'm looking at it and I'm trying, working on it, and I'm hoping to overcome. Yeah. Bharat, what else?
I don't see any further questions, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one more.
Yeah.
What should be the maximum number of pages for CV drafting?
Oh, it can run into pages. It's not, there is no limit. There is no limit. The more, the thicker. If you have the experience, why should you tailor it? Talk about all your achievements, all your qualifications. There is no limit to a CV. It can run into pages. There is no word limit, no page limit. Why should you limit yourself in your CV? Talk about all your accomplishments. Don't cut them short. Talk about it clearly. That is what represents you. That is what makes you employable. So no, there is no limit to it. Unless some organization says in just 3 pages or in 4 pages, then that is for you to highlight the best of that possibility. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is one, can I ask a question in the interview? Deepak is saying. Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Of course, you can ask a question in the interview. Sometimes we, as panelists, also say, do you have questions? Yes. You see, when sometimes the terrain is difficult, we will ask the student, we'll ask the kind of candidate, will you be able to commute? Will you be able to come? Yes, you can ask your question honestly. Why not? Yes. There should be no doubt in your mind. You should have a clear idea of what is expected of you. I hope this has helped you all. I hope it has helped you. Yeah, Bharat, anything else?
I don't see any further questions, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all and best wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Bharat sir, shall we take
Yes.
a short break here for
Yes. For
5-10
10
minutes?
minutes, 5 minutes, we can take a break and then we can request Bhargav sir to our next speaker.
Yeah. So we'll start the next session at 5:40.
Yeah.
So participants, you can wait online or take a quick break and come back. The next session will be taken at 5:40 p.m.
So take a short tea break.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Ravi?
हाँ सर,
Sir has
लव
right?
सर, सर अभी ज्वाइन नहीं किए हैं सर.
Yes, I can also see.
अभी बात हुई थी, 1 मिनट में ज्वाइन कर रहा हूँ करके बोले थे.
अच्छा अच्छा, नहीं वो सर कर ही रहे होंगे, कोई दिक्कत.
हाँ. भरत सर, लव सर
हाँ,
has
yes,
joined.
yes. Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Love, sir. Here is Dr. Bharat Gupta.
Hi, Bharat.
Are you
Yeah,
able to
hi.
listen me, sir?
Yeah, clearly.
Bhargav, sir.
Yeah, I'm able to
sir.
hear you
How are
clearly.
you, sir?
Are you able to hear me?
Sir, how are you?
I'm
Yes,
fine.
yes, sir. I'm.
Fine.
So after a long time.
Yeah. But so nice we are having a series of courses going on.
This is with the supervision of Vinit, sir.
That is definitely there for us also.
I'm not. I take. I am not
Yes, sir.
No,
supervisor.
I
No,
would
no.
not say so.
What?
I am just a
I will
companion
not.
with you. I am not supervisor. Sir, please pardon me. Please pardon me.
Yeah. So, Bhargav, sir, once you are ready, just let me know. So
No,
that.
I am ready. I am ready.
Okay. So, with your permission, I will just take a few minutes to introduce you, sir. So,
Please.
very good afternoon to all the participants. Now, I welcome you on the last session of 5th day. Today, we have another speaker, Professor Love Bhargav. I'm very happy and to introduce him in front of you. Dr. Love Bhargav is a professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at MNIT Jaipur. He is also involved and he is working as also as an associate dean in the MNIT Jaipur. Dr. Bhargav has obtained his doctorate degree from the Indian Institute of Delhi in the area of VLSI. He has done MTech in VLSI from University of Rajasthan. He is having a more than 20 years of experience in teaching and research. He mainly deals his research interest area are low power VLSI system, FPGA, embedded system and IoT, MEMS, testing, SOC verification and MEMSTER devices. So with a very crisp introduction, I would like to welcome Professor Bhargav at this FDP. And thank you, Bhargav sir, for accepting our invitation and be with us on this program. And thank you so much, sir. Now it's over to you.
Thank you, Bharat. I hope I am audible.
Yes,
So,
sir. You're,
without much ado, I'll start. The way I have planned things is that I intend to first have a quick presentation and then we will go to the kits which are, I mean, the templates which are provided to us by IEEE, and as an example, I'll take one or two of those and quickly run through them. So uh, when we talk of author's kit, basically it talks of two, three things or the activities which we need to do. There is already submitted a manuscript and it has been accepted, but it provides whatever is the electronic version of the manuscript. Even when you are submitting something before that, you can present a draft copy of it, give it to your supervisor for correction, and then you can submit it. Once it is accepted, then you go in for these steps, which are first preparation of the final manuscript, for which each one of them are providing their templates. We'll discuss those the theoretical concepts behind those templates, and then we'll come to those templates themselves. So using those, we prepare the electronic version of the manuscript, give it in the format which is desired. Say IEEE says it would like to have in the PS format. Springer says it would like to have it as a PDF. So whatever is the final electronic version desired, we give it in that particular format, and then we prepare the copyright transfer form, and then we have prepare the author's registration form. If there are any, if it's open access one, we have to make some payments. Otherwise, well, in case of IEEE, if your paper is more than 11 pages, they might ask you for some extra charges. Up till 11 pages, usually they provide it free. Then how to present the biography, those forms, the materials for submission, send the electronic form of the submissions, upload all those, and finally send the copyright transfer form. So these are roughly the stages which a author has to go through. So now, any of the paper includes the following. It will be abstract, titles and affiliations, introduction, and then we have to discuss the proposed method, the experimental data and results, conclusions, acknowledgements, and the references. Now, when we talk, every journal has its own form which is there. So, say for IEEE as we see it, conference proceedings, particularly I talk of, then first we have the abstract. Now these abstract usually will not be, it will not be, I mean, it will not be having any sort of header. What I mean by header, I'll talk of it. But it will be something which will be usually of 150 words, and there will be a few index terms which will not be more than 5. So we have to give those index terms. And then this abstract usually is in 9 font size. Then the introduction is would be in font size 10. So these are various things which we need to take care of. Say your paper which you're preparing, will it be on A4 size paper? The dimensions are given there, or it would be in what is called as the letter size. So because what happens is different journals, different conferences talk of what would be the size of the paper that you choose, because depending on the size of the paper, the margins are set. So the beauty of this is whatever template given to us, our matter continues to be same. Simply by making some changes in the template or the use packages, we can immediately transform our paper from maybe requirement of one journal to another one. Then there are some font type sizes. We have written it as specified in table 1. I'll give you the reference of the paper from which we have taken it. So, but what it says is that if you are going to use whatever running text you are writing, that abstract you are writing, what will be the font type sizes which will be given to you? Similarly, there could be two things. One is you might write your script in MS Word, template is provided for that, or you might be doing it in LaTeX. So depending on that, what should be the font sizes chosen so that when the final results comes out, it is same whether you are prepared in MS Word or you are prepared in LaTeX. The Times New Roman is the preferred font there. The page margins are given here. Important thing for us to know is that these are the things which we have to take care of. What would be the paper margins which are given? Usually some sites are given to us. Then the paper styles are there. Say if it is a 2-column paper, well, we have to left and right justify the columns to ensure that the symmetry of the column is there. Similarly, when we go to the last sheet of your paper, then we have to adjust the length of the column so that they are almost equal. Usually, this last page will be consisting of references, and it is possible that the page might not be filled in completely. So, for sake of a better presentation, we would like that it should be both the columns should be of the same size. Of course, we try to do this. It is not necessary that always we'll get something like this. Then a very important thing is that the figures have to be of very high resolution. The reason is that whatever we use here is usually what is termed as vector graphics. So the figures that are included have to be either in EPS or whatever formats are IEEE stringent. They have all given various formats which are called as vector graphics, and figures which are there in vector graphics reproduce beautifully when we make it as a document, as a PS or a PDF file. Figures and tables in the papers. We should try to position figures and tables at the top or bottom of the column and avoid pasting them in middle of the column. This is something like, as far as possible, we should try to do it. Sometimes it becomes unavoidable that suppose if we are putting in a table and it is coming far away from where it is being referred, sometimes a person has to search through. So in that case, maybe even if it is not desirable, we might have to put our table in the middle of the column. Usually figures tend to come either at top or bottom of the column. And so the figures are small, then they would be fitting onto a column width only. But if they are large, the figures and tables are large, then they may span across both columns. So again, a question comes in how to set it. So whatever templates are given to us using packages, they are just making a few changes in the commands. It's possible for us to do that. Similarly, a common thing which should be done is that the figure caption should be centered below the figures. Because if you have drawn a figure, the caption which comes should come ideally in the center because that will be aesthetically pleasing, and also it immediately attracts attention of the reader. And similarly, the table caption should be centered above. So for figures, they are below the figure. For tables, they are above the figure. And usually figures and tables are put after their first mention in the text. So we should avoid placing them before their first mention in the text. Otherwise, it becomes a slightly typical situation. Similarly, whenever we are we are referring to a figure, we could use it as fig.hash. Hash refers to the number in a sentence. Say we have an example here where you say caption is centered in the figure, and we notice that the scale is very pretty clearly readable. The font size should be such that it should be readable out. The font is given in the scale is 6 for table superscripts, 8 for section titles, references, etc., 9 for abstract and index terms, then author affiliations, etc., and 10 author name, and 11 and paper title 22. Again, this is for IEEE conference. Even from conference to conference or in journals, this might vary. What we are trying to indicate here that usually there will be different font sizes which will be predefined, and we should stick to those. And the templates which are given to us, they have those options where we can change these values as per the requirement of that particular journal. Then another thing is how to refer to citations. So we number citations consecutively in square brackets, and usually say if there are a citation which says there we are referring to citation number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we may put in a bracket as bracket 1-5. But if they are separate references, usually we put them as like 135 is being referred, we'll write it as 1 in one bracket, comma 3 in another one, 5 in another one. So these are again dependent on the particular journal or conference which we are using. So the author kits usually contains all these instructions how you are supposed to do all these references, how you are supposed to refer to the figures, to the tables. Here I am talking with reference to a particular conference only. Now I'll pick from here and go to a paper which gives us some idea about how it is done. Oh, am I audible? Oh.
Yeah, very well. Bhargav sir.
But somehow I seem to have lost the connection here. I'm not able to share the slide with you.
Oh, yes, sir. Slides are not visible.
Sir, I'll just flip your sharing. So I think you can share again. I'll just change it.
I'll go once again to, yeah. Thank you. I ended the sharing, but yeah, thank you for enabling. Maybe I'll flip from one paper to another, so this thing might have to be done repeatedly. Sorry about it. Uh,
So now you
is
can
this
share.
visible? Is my screen visible to you?
No, sir.
No. I'm sharing this.
Yes,
Is
sir.
this
It's
visible
coming now.
now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's visible.
So I just wanted to show you this is say for a conference. It says that in a conference paper, what you would have is at the top is the conference paper title. Subtitles are not captured in Explore, so should not be used. At the top, it gives you how the names of the author should come in. So you should have the first author's name, surname, then the department name, name of the organization. Because it's a conference one, we find all these things are coming in here, right here. If it's a journal paper, usually all these go into the biography. We just give the name here and the email usually which should be out here. But as you can see here, it shows that maybe there could be 6 possible names which could be here. Now they could be even larger than this. This does not restrict to 6 because in Europe you'll usually find there are research groups which will work with a very large number of groups. So in those cases, the authors might be even 9 or 10. In our Indian context, usually I've seen we have just 3 or 4. But we can give this here, as you can see here, then you will have an abstract. So right here in this presentation itself, here he says what shall be the what should be the syntax of paper, how to prepare your paper before styling, how should you should keep your text and graphics files separate until after text has been formatted and styled. What he is trying to say here is that when we prepare a script, our file usually suppose if you were do it we were to do it manually, we write something, then we draw a figure. But here it is not so. We say draw the figures separately, save them as separate files. You put your text here. You may format your text, do whatever you want to it, and then you can decide where I would like this particular graphic file to come in. And using the particular syntax which is given here, you can insert your figures out there and then go through the format. My idea of showing you this particular conference is this particular paper is to tell you that yes, every conference will give you something like this as part of the author's kit. It will tell you, say here, as you can see, the class file is designed for but not limited to 6 authors. So similarly, how to identify the headings and all these things will be containing here, and how do you put a table? What will be the as I said on the table, this will go as the top in the figure. It will go somewhere else. So all this is given to us in this type of a file. Uh, Now I would like to go back to the presentation. So Ravi, can you again flip it for me so that I can share the other file? Somehow I am not able to flip from here. And yeah, okay. So I have gone back to the presentation, and as you can see here, we were talking about references here. So now what happens is when we give references, there could be also, we will talk of the referencing style also, which is there. How can we have different referencing styles, because different journals, etc., might use different styles. So this is anything. If you notice out here, he says if you are talking of referring because there are technical reports, etc., which are not published, or they are not made, etc., should also be referred to. Similarly, papers might have been accepted, but they have not been published as yet. So we can refer to them as, or cite them as in press. The important thing is whatever in it, actually should definitely be citing there. Is the voice still breaking? Hello.
Sir, voice is
Uh,
okay, sir.
okay. Because I just saw a comment that the voice is breaking, so I thought maybe I'll reconfirm.
Maybe the bandwidth issue at his.
Okay. So now for suppose you have your paper, you have taken some references which are from some translated journals. Then there is a method which says give the English citation, then the original foreign language one, because sometimes people would like to know where it was originally published. Then similarly, abbreviations, acronyms, the first time they are used in the text, we should be defining them and then only using them. Again, different journals have different styles, how you will be talking of abbreviations and acronyms. And particularly in the title, do not use abbreviations until they are unavoidable. Because it is the very first line. So if you are putting an acronym which is not too common, a person might find it difficult. So usually in the title, even if it's slightly longer, we always put in the complete title and put an abbreviation there. This is something about equations, how to put in this, which say equation numbers in parentheses should be flush with the right margin, as we see with this equation. And then we try to put them in a form which might be using some these exponential type of functions if possible. We'll go to equations because LaTeX provides a very powerful tool for equation manipulation. Now, quickly through some common mistakes. Uh, you might be aware of them. I'll quickly go through a few of these. I will be sharing this presentation with you so you can read it at your leisure. There are something like, say, data is plural, not singular. Now there is a difference American English and British English. Sometimes there are issues related to that. Then similarly, the word alternatively or alternately, they are sometimes, I would say, misused. So we have to be very clear what we mean. Are we talking of something which is alternative, or alternately means which is something where we are talking to from one to another thing like this? Then we do not confuse imply and infer. Similarly, if we are using the word non with something, then we say it is modifying the word, so it has to be without hyphen. Sometimes because people don't care about it, if we are putting in two words, we will connect them with hyphen. But sometimes here also with non, we might use a hyphen which is incorrect. Something which we face when we write a paper is the spelling of the word acknowledgement. So in American, it is usually without E. In America, in this thing, it is usually with E. And another point I have put in here to be read through. Actually want to go down to the script first. So quickly I'll go through this. Now, when we are doing in LaTeX, the very first thing we talk of is the document class. So for IEEE, usually it will be either for conference or it will be for transactions. So we'll see that here we are talking of when we are talking particularly for journal. So we say what we are looking for is it is usually 2-column standard form, and the document class is IEEE tran, a specific class which says it is for transactions. Of course, Sometimes there might be some changes. IEEE transactions for power electronics has some distinct changes. Those for computer society journals, they have somewhat more differences than the general template which is provided. So what I am discussing here is normally what are the features of a general template. As I said, for a particular journal, whatever is there, we have to go through what the details are out there. Then the bibliography styles which are there again, in one is in IEEE, it is IEEE transaction ones. Then in Stranger, it could be IEEE TRAN or it could be what is referred to as unsorted. Because there could be two styles of referring the bibliography. One goes by the alphabetic order of the authors, but then the numbering there goes very randomly. So what is preferred in our case is having the unsorted ones, which means whenever a paper is referred to first time, it should come in the bibliography at that particular order. And those files, we'll see what we mean by there is a bib file and the contents of the file. I mean, whatever goes into the references are a part of the bib file, which we include. And from there, it automatically calls and builds up the references for us. And if this is referring to that bibliography only, that what sort of packages we can use. So there are two things. One is we said that we are talking of the document class. So the class talk of whether we are talking of journal or conference. Then we tend to use packages. Now different packages are used for providing different features onto your document. Say if we are dealing with graphics, then it will require a particular package. We'll see a list of packages in a particular file which I have provided. We'll go have a hands-on, so we'll go through this. As you can see here, that if we put it, include in BibTeX package IEEE tran.bst, references will appear in the order in which they are cited. Then the other one which is sorted, it sorts entries based on name of authors, editors, etc. And then example.bib, users can copy the entries there into service starting templates. So there are methods of how to be used if you want to include something, how it can be. Wide variety is available. What to use actually depends on what is the intended output that you're looking for. In case of Springer, I will be skipping Elsevier because Elsevier and Springer usually will have something of similar kind only. In this, again, it will be very similar to what we had there also. But in case of Springer, there are some journals which talk of contents in a single column. They are very few, but still there are there which talk of having the whole content in a single column, which is all paper wide. But usually there are two column wide journal proceedings which are there. How to include that, we will see in that script later on. So here also it talks of abstract and it should be 70 to 150 words. And these keywords are freely available in Springer link. 9 points should be used. And then what we say is usually we would like to sometimes have references, etc. in case of authors, etc., which you would like in the footnotes, or we would like to have some acknowledgement, etc. Maybe for some funding agency, etc. So there is a standard slash thanks command which allows us to have those in the footnotes. Similarly, there could be some references to authors, etc. Maybe three authors belong to the same organization, so rather than repeating that particular affiliation, we might put in some author reference there, and all of them will be mapped to the same entry which is visible in the printed document. Keywords, we have seen them, and the introduction would be in font size sense. This is some journals which you'll find that these are the Springer. This is a set of, I'll be sharing that paper with you. I'll put it in the drive, which is having the author kit for Springer. For LNCS, LNBIT, CCIS, they all follow the same common format out there. Then, the in this case, the affiliating institutes are to be listed directly below the names of authors. And multiple affiliations should be marked with superscript Arabic numbers, and they should each start on a line, which is shown in that template document, which I will be sharing with you later on.
Another thing you would notice here is it just talks of email, while in case of IEEE, we could give that ORCID entry also there itself. So from there itself, immediately there could be a tagging of the paper. What will be the various sizes out here for phone sizes, etc.? They are all given here. As you can see, in this case, they are very different from what we had in case of IEEE. So here the title is 14 points, introduction 12, and the printing area, etc. is all 10 points. How to number lemmas, suppositions, and theorems, that also forms a part of the instruction in the author kit. Page numbering we don't do. Usually what happens is when we submit the final paper, it is done at the end of the
Publisher.
so
Even in case of IEEE, usually it is at the publisher's end because sometimes if any changes are made due to the typesetting, etc. Usually, whatever we give, if everything is okay from our end, they will publish it as it is. But if it is not so, sometimes they might do some kind of typesetting on their own, and that will cause
page numbering to change. So usually it is not preferred that we give the page number. Some more specs out here. It says line drawings are to have a resolution of at least 800 dpi. If you remember in IEEE, we talked of figures having a resolution of greater than 300 dpi. The lettering in figure should not be using font size less than 6 points. What he is trying to say here is, as we said, we are writing document here defining a font size, but the figure we are including later on. So whatever tool we use for drawing the figure, it would be having its own style of including the text and the font of the text size, etc. Sometimes what happens is when we include that figure, that font size might become very small, too small to be readable. So here the instruction says that if you are whatever font size you include there, make sure that it should be greater than 6 points or should be greater than 2 in character height. Nowadays, there is one more powerful package out here. Uh, if you search on the net, you can find it out, which allows this thing that whatever figure we are using, whatever text is there in the figure, you can set the size of that particular text. So rather than if you find that the text is not really coming out to be of the size what you want, when you include the figure, you can ensure that the text out there can be manipulated by you. Of course, it is not very simple, but still, that's I would say a powerful feature which allows you to manage the font size in the figure itself. This is example figure which is given in that particular template given by Springer, which says, as you can see here, the fonts are pretty well readable out here. The figure is very clear. These dotted lines which are drawn, usually when you put the figure, sometimes they tend to become hazy. Or so what we want is that they should be having a very good DPI. In this case, they are talking about DPI of greater than 800. How to include formulas? Maybe we'll go to the script and see it there itself. In the footnotes, etc., the superscript numeral used to refer to a footnote appears in the text either directly after the word to be discussed or in relation to a phrase or sentence following the punctuation mark. So these are some basically points which we refer to, because if we are talking about authors having reference to the same institute, maybe we'll be putting a script of maybe 1122 like this and then showing the affiliation down there in the footnote. For citations and bibliography, I have already discussed the first point which is given out there. Now, what happens here is that in citation, there could be two ways of including citations, references. Sorry, no, not citation, the references. That is one way included as part of the script, or other is we might call it from a file. We will see both examples when we come to an actual script later on. So
some general rules which are given here, I think I can skip those because when we go to the actual run, we'll be able to see these things out there. Important thing which is there that sometimes when we submit a script and later on when it is published, the publisher usually puts some publisher ID, etc., somewhere on the first page, maybe somewhere at the bottom of the page. So what happens is if we have not left enough space for it, then later on you might find that if the paper length was 6, now it is exceeding, becoming 7, then you are being asked to pay for it. So usually what we do is wherever those things come, there is a particular standard command which is given here for publisher ID, etc. We can put in a dummy template out there of the same size as would be put in by the publisher. So when you do your paper setting, it will come out to be exactly to be the same as it should be. Would be when it is published, and it will ensure that the paper size, etc., is not exceeded in any case. Plagiarism policy, I think we all know, but what is important is this. If an author has copied from another, this is Springer's policy I'm talking of. If an author has copied from another author and used part of another author's work without his or her permission in a reference, then the paper on the Springer link will be given a retracted stem and an erratum explaining the reason for the retraction will be included. So one has to be very careful about this also, because it is not something if something is found to be copied later on that it will be quietly withdrawn and the matter ends. No, it is not like this. The paper will be there with a retracted stamp for all to see that look, such and such thing had happened as a warning to others. In addition, the volume editors and the author's academic supervisors will be informed. So this academic integrity is something very important, and I would say it is an important part of any author script. It is not merely preparing the script, manuscript, but also ensuring that whatever you are writing and whatever you are rightfully claiming as yours is yours. And if you are taking something from any reference or anything from another author, you unequivocally refer it to in your script. If it is at 2 or 3 places from the same paper, everywhere wherever it occurs, you should be referring to it without fail. So when we come to the end of the paper, we always put in acknowledgement. So it says it should be a run-in heading and not a section or subsection. Usually sections or subsections will have heading. They will have Roman 1, 2, 3 like this, and the subsections will be either numbered as A, B, C, or it could be as italics I in the Roman small I 1, 2 like this. But acknowledgement does not have any heading. So it should not be assigned any number, and we will see how it is actually put into the script so that thing happens. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. Here it is just what sort of comments we tend to use for inclusion of files, etc. So as we can see here that in the Springer, it says if it is journal, it is journal P, which is for one column. If it is small condensed, one column, small extended, one column. If it is two columns, we'll keep the words here two column, which says that this document class should have two columns. Either you will be writing two column out here. In some cases, it will be that digit two, which will be written out here. Similarly, when we talk of bibliography style, we will include it from the bib file, and then it says the basic style is author, year, citations, and then there are mathematics and physical sciences have different style, and then physics usually might have a different style. So there are some common procedures. Copyright form we have to fill in. We know so usually one of the author has to sign and submit it. So these things, whenever we are submitting, we should always keep a copy of this also. Because as we say in this, the author signs for and accepts responsibility for releasing this material on behalf of any and all the co-authors. So it is digital signatures are not acceptable. You have to physically sign and send. Some authors, how to go about it, how the peer review process. I don't think it might make. You can read through it. So I'll skip this. Finally, but for the completion, as we had included what forms part of the author's kit, you can see when you submit manuscript, either it sometimes they say it is not fit for that manual, or at the first level it might review it. If it is reviewed, then you are informed of the decision about it, and then you have the author is informed of the decision, and then you submit your final manuscript. So once the decision comes, when you typeset your paper and submit it, what are the steps which you have to go through? Because usually what will happen after they check the format and they make a script, they will send you something for proofreading, and they expect you that particular time frame you will be submitting. If you do not submit any errors or any correction, it will be assumed that it is okay and it will publish. So remember, if you have a paper which we maybe for whatever reason we have not read in the end thoroughly, it might have errors which will continue to be there because forever, because once a paper is submitted, published, now all whatever is correct or incorrect is our responsibility. So this final check is also very critical for, and usually nowadays online publications are there. There are few which also go in for a hard copy, but almost all have gone to this. So now I will go out and hello, am I not audible?
You're audible, sir.
Because here there were a few comments again that you are not audible properly.
Might be some
Okay,
net issue at their end,
yeah.
sir.
I want to make sure the issue is not at my end.
It's
So,
clear, sir.
so now what I'll do is I'll share with you one particular tool which we use for a LaTeX file. So what first I'll do is I'll share one. I have kept a file open in that tool, and I shall be sharing that with you. So as you can see here, this is I think almost all of you must be aware of it. There could be two ways, and you could be doing this thing. I am particularly of doing things in LaTeX. Now, usually all of us would have laptops. So on Windows, any Windows laptop, you can download and install MikTeX. Once you install MikTeX as the backend compiler, then you can uh, uh, install TechMaker here for that for the purpose of scripting and running and this. So as you can see, WinEdit, there are a lot of options available there. There is one which is directly a MikTeX editor also, which is available to us. This TechMaker is available to us. So as you can see out here, this particular tool, let me first refer to this particular document to you, and then I will refer to the features of TechMaker. Basically, what it allows you to, whatever template is given to you for by any conference, you save that template as a .text file in a folder. There will be a lot of other files. So if that particular folder which you have made, you will put your .text file, which is your source file there. You will put all your figures in the same directory. The figures you have to be careful of whether sometimes it happens maybe the same figure I will have as .eps, .pdf in different formats. So when we include a figure out here, we have to make sure we give the complete name. Come to it as we come to it. So here what I find is, what I'm trying to show here you is a IEEE conference document, one of our papers which was submitted to a conference. I have taken that directly as an example here. So on the very first line, you see it as document class is either conference or IEEE tran. So what it does is in the same thing, in same document class, you can either set for transaction or you can set it for conference. So the way you include, as you go out here, what you find is there are some comments. Comments we know is with percentage sign, you can ensure that whatever is written is commented out. So if you have written some text and you find you do not want to include that text, you don't need to delete it. You just comment it out and compile rest. But anyway, let me come to it here. As you can see here, I think Dr. Ravi Madila, I was talking to him in one of the talks. You were shown a document about how to create a question paper. So you must have seen a style file for that also. So as you see out here, what we have done is we have a document class. Then we have here, we use packages. So for whatever task we do, we have to include a package. Now, depending on what sort of thing we want to do, there could be different packages for it. And usually, uh, either they would be predefined to you, or you, as I can see, I'll show you here, one is use package site. So whatever references we give, we say the method use will be in the site package. Similarly, we use a package here called as listings. And here then you can see there are some languages, in this for listings, it has given a set of commands out here. What shall be the frame, what language, caption position, above this, how much distance is to be skipped, below skip, string sizes. There are a lot of things. Some of things maybe the LaTeX itself would form a huge course to read through. So we don't really bother about all of them. Whenever we get stuck up, go to Google, search it out, and you will find what it means and what making a change to it, how it is going to change things for us. Then we define usually arrays. So for defining arrays, we'll use a package here called as array. And then here he's talking of using a new column type, which says that it will be centering with a backslash command. Then we usually include mathematical terms in our distinct equations. What happens is, suppose I am writing the letter I. Now I could be referring to me, or I could be referring to something coming in an equation, etc. So it has to come out in italic. So these packages which I'm using, AMS Math, AMS Symbol, AMS Phones, they ensure that whatever text we put between two dollar sign usually comes in as a mathematical symbol. Then this paper also includes a few algorithms. So for writing algorithm, you have to use the algorithmic style. So a package called as algorithmic is used here. Similarly, for the whatever figures we are using, we want to include them using a particular style, and that is contained in a package called as graphic X. You might find a package called as graphic A also. There might be some other packages also. So usually when we include a package, we have to see. We can usually look through the author's kit as well as styles out there, that what sort of packages are preferred out here, and we prefer. Usually what happens is this tech file which you can download either from IEEE or Springer, all these things will be given to us. What we do is whatever we want to keep, we'll keep as it is. Whatever we don't want to use, we may just uh, uh, comment it out as we have commented out here. As you can see here, in this third line, preceding line is only needed to identify funding in the first footnote. If that is unneeded, please comment it out. So the second line, we might comment out if we don't need it. So these packages, etc., whatever are permissible, they are all included out there. Whatever you want to use, you may use. If you don't want to use it, you may comment it out. Sometimes it might happen that a package which is given out there, we might not prefer to use it. We might want to use another package for the same thing, but the two might conflict. In that case, we will have to ensure that we comment this out. Similarly, there could be some figures, etc., where it could be colored. So you can see we are using a package here called as Xcolor. For bibliography, we are using a method called as bibtext, and we have defined here that when we are using this talks of what will be the various dimensions. 0.05 em talks of what will be the various kerning. These are basically uh, I would say parameters related to typesetting, that in different the spacing, etc., would be different. So they might tend to overlap or things might that appear. So we have to set those values out here, and this .em talks of that particular value out here. Now, having up till this point, we have defined whatever packages, etc., to be included, whatever definitions are to be given, whatever class file have to be included. Our document begins from here. So slash begin, and here we say that it is of the type document. It could be we are talking of it as a document here. In some case, it might be something different. It could be maybe a technical note, which might have a different style of presentation. So, but anyway, we are defining here that it is of the type document. Then under slash title, we give the title of the paper. So usually when we give the title of the paper here, the style being followed here, as you can see from the PDF on the right hand side, is that the first letter of the first word is capital. Of every word is it's out here is capital. In some other cases, style might be different, which might say that the first one will be of slightly larger size, but rest all will be also in capital. So the whole title is in capital, but it is the first letter of the first word which is slightly bigger in size than the other. Again, that will depend on what sort of file we are including. Then the second thing we include after the title is who are the authors. So here we are saying that what the style we are using is of IEEE author block. So here the name is given, then the title is a research scholar at MNIT Jaipur, Rajasthan, India, address, email, because it's a conference paper, so all these things are included here. And then the keyword and then the second author's affiliation, and then the third author's affiliation. So all these are there, and then we say end it with make title. After this, we begin with the abstract. So this is a keyword slash begin abstract. This tells us that the abstract begins from here. As I said, abstract will not have any numbering associated with it. So here we find, so where do we find begins here? Yes, see, we said begin document, and then here we are saying begin abstract. We write the abstract. After writing the abstract, we say end abstract. So in between, we have just, it might happen, you might have written a text in Word file, and from there you can copy and put it out here. So whatever comes under this begin abstract, you will see in your paper that it is in a different font as compared to the rest of the text. Then we come to here. Every paper we say will have a few keywords, which shall be not more than 5. So here you define the keywords and you put them after one after another, putting a comma in between. Of course, there should not be any comma after the last one, and then end keyword. So in any document, usually you find when we begin something, we also have to end it. It is very critical. So we begin a document at the beginning. At the very end, we will have to end the document also. So usually what you will find is all these would be given to you in the text, in the template file itself. You have to just start typing in between and ensure that whenever you are putting in something, you ensure that you end it. Now we begin with section here. So with slash section introduction, now the introduction begins here, and introduction, I am writing here slash section introduction, so it understands that it is introduction. And when it is written in the paper, it comes out in the paper, you will notice that it will come out as all caps. There is a PDF available on the right hand side window. So if I come to it, it will be in all capitals, though here I have written them as a running word. Similarly, after having written the section, it will include some things out there. What sort of things? If you notice from the syntax perspective, I'll come to it. There is this test module invokes the C underscore test package in the task phase. So because there is something which is I expect some special commands to come in here as a paragraph. So when I compile it with this, when you see in this text, you will find it uh, uh, in a slightly different uh, font as compared to rest of the text. Some of the things which are written here, like say the Python here, you will find it here in capital with a uh, bold. So that also we can do here using certain commands. I won't spend much time on that. But then after that section, I have another section called as test simulators for cross-platform execution. So we can have sections, then we can have subsections inside, and inside that subsections. So a section can have subsection, then inside another subsection, and maybe inside that another subsection. So having included this text, now I come to the fact that suppose I want to include a figure. And here I say, when I want to include a figure, again, I have to begin. I have defined that it will be a figure. And with this syntax H, I am saying this figure should be here. If I write T or B, it means I want it at the top or at the bottom. But what I'm saying here is, I want this figure to be put in immediately where this paragraph ends. I ensure that it is centered in that particular paragraph. Then this is keyword / include graphics, which tells me that that graphic file has to be included. A beauty of tech is that we can scale this figure. We can scale it to fit here to the optimal size. So here, as you can see, I have given a scale factor of 0.7, and here is the name of the file. This file has to exist in that particular directory where your text file was there, because it will pick up from there. Now, when I have just written the name and I have not written the extension, the assumption will be the file is of the PDF type. So there is a file there, uvm-c.pdf. Whatever figure is there, it is scaled by a factor of 0.7, and then it will be included. Now, because I picked up this particular template from somewhere, it included a lot of other things also. So you will notice I have commented them out. This percentage, and this percentage tell me that these are commented out. And now after that, I have put in a caption which should come in. The caption says that this is the caption is referring to that particular table, which says cross-platform reuse of UVM-C test bench. So it means a figure will be created and this particular caption will come there at the bottom center. Now, whenever I am writing this document, I'll be referring to this particular figure somewhere, figure number so and whatever it is. So wherever I have to refer to it, I have to give it a label. So wherever I ref, I will be giving this label out there, and from there it will immediately know that this particular figure is to be referred. So if it is first figure which is occurring, its number is figure 1. Wherever I am referring to this, it will automatically put in figure 1 out there. So this is done through the /label syntax, using this thing that within these larger curly brackets, we are giving the label out here. Now here the label given is pretty big, because the person wants to make sure that he doesn't get confused anywhere. We might put in a smaller label also sometimes, because when we refer to it, we use that syntax /ref something. It becomes very difficult. I mean, cumbersome to copy and paste from here. So sometimes we might give a smaller label out here. Then again, end figure. So begin figure and end figure. As I said, whatever we include, we have to begin and end that, and between whatever we need to put in, we'll put in. This /par refers to the fact that we are beginning another paragraph immediately after this. So the paragraph begins from here, and we keep on going down here. Then we find another figure is being put here, and again it is being scaled by a factor of 0.85. The name of that file is reuse.pdf. Again, something commented out, a caption is given out here, and then the label is also given out there. So they are consecutively figures which are given out there. And you would notice that these figures might not come actually there consecutively because of the various dimensions which are included out here. So the top figure came on top of the second page here, while the third figure is pretty large in size, so it is coming in 2 columns width. And another difference you will notice is here I had used figure. Okay. But here I use figure star. So when I use figure star, it meant that it is not to be limited to one column, it can be put across two columns. So this particular figure is actually occupying two columns, and usually because if we are talking of two columns, figure would be put either at the top or at the bottom. Here I had put in the command H, which meant here, but when it compiled, it overrode it because it found it cannot fit in somewhere in between. Now, having gone through this, uh, I'll go to this. These are some subsections which are being referred to. What I prefer to do is I'll prefer to go to something called as a list. As you can see here, there is an algorithm which is mentioned out here. So here I am putting it as a listing. So I'm putting it as begin LST listing. This is the caption which I'm going to give to this particular one. Automated method calls for register, read, write, verification function. Then this is the text which is to be written out there. And whenever I have to go to a new line, I'm putting in these slashes there. And then I come to end of this listing. So I can create an algorithmic kind of structure out here using this particular command. Then again, another subsection comes in, and which is referred to as subsection C. So for all the subsections out here, you will find they will be given different numberings. So we had this was introduction, then we came down to this. So wherever subsections will occur, they will have certain number there, which will be given to them. This is referring to a table. So as you can see out here, we are referring to a table here this time. Again, we are, hello? Any question? So we have given a caption out here. And then when we write a table, we say it is begin tabular. Then we are giving the dimensions for each of the columns. When I am drawing this line, it means when the table is drawn, it will have separating lines, and the width of the first column is 1.2, second is 2.4, third is 1.69, fourth is 1.5. I might have all of the same dimension, but here I am having these are different dimensions, and the headings are given. This is test bench is the heading of the first column. Then we put a keyword ampersand, then the heading of the second one, which is processing time in seconds, and then the heading for the third one, which is total iterations and coverage. And then these backslashes tell me that the line ends out here, and then there will be a horizontal line which will be drawn, and then again entries for here. This table, I'll show you. This table is here actually in this document. It is a smaller window, so maybe I'll try to increase the width of this, and then it will be more visible to you. So as you can see here, this is the table which is formed. So this is the title of the table, the caption of the table, then the headers which we had defined, and then the numbers out here. As you can see, we defined different widths. So because of that, it is showing us different widths out here. So this is how we include a table in our document. So what we have seen is how to include a plain text, how to include a figure, how to include a table, and how to write something in a list style or a algorithmic style. Right, for writing, this is not strictly algorithm, but if you were to write strict algorithm, then we might use another package and write it in a strictly algorithmic style. But this is basically we have chosen to write it in a listing style. So it could be, we could choose different styles for this. Now here, some particular figures, etc., all come in. Now I come to the last part here, which says acknowledgement. Now, if you remember, we said for all other blocks, we will have headings like this. Roman 3 is there, the subheading is A, and then we go down below, and then maybe this is B, And then it could be C, which could occur somewhere. No, A and B are there. Section 4 is result and discussion. And in result and discussion, again, there might be different. This I don't think has any section, but it has a lot of figures or tables included out here. This table has included in this. Remember, we had included a package called as Xcolor because we knew there will be some graphs which will be using color out there. Now, after the conclusion, we come to acknowledgement. The conclusion is named as Roman numeral 5, section 5. Acknowledgement should not have any section. So where we want to avoid a section, we put a star. So you put a comment, the keyword slash action, put a star on top of that, and then in the bracket write acknowledgement and put this acknowledgement, which is simply one line says this work is supported by Ministry of Meiti. Now, the last but very critical point again, how to include the bibliography. There could be two styles of it, as I said. One is we could include whatever bibliography entries are there right here itself in this as a part of this script itself. Or the other ways we could it as part of the bib file. So here, if you see, this is included like this, that we say bibliography, the size will be 9, and then bib item is a keyword. This is the reference which will be for this paper. Wherever we refer to this paper, we will be referring it as /ref, and in bracket we will be writing note website. So these are the references. Whatever references are there, they are all included out here. So this was one style. So here it ends the bibliography, and here it ends the document. So once we have written, now this particular file, I just for the sake of time, I showed you the complete document. The way we build up the document is we have a template with us. We keep on adding things. First, maybe we add the title, name of the authors, compile it, and run it and see that the compilation is okay. And incrementally, we keep on adding things to it. So just for the sake of completion in this tool, I'll show you how this file is document is generated. So here you have something written as quick build. And you just click this, it will compile. Of course, it is giving me some warnings here. So warnings mean sometimes this label might be multiply defined at multiple places. I'm using it, but usually warnings we go through them, but they won't. If it is an error, your script won't compile. Then we will have to first sort out the error, and then only we can compile it. Warnings, some warnings we may disregard, but once we have done this, this whole script will be created and will be visible to us in this viewer out here. So this was a style of our IEEE conference. Now what I will show you is the style which is being followed by what is by the Springer Journal. So I'll show you the document for that. What's the time? Now, this script is for a conference, Springer. So as you can see here, this is a general template file, which I copied here. So initially they were all comments which said file template.txt, general template file for the LaTeX package svjord3 for Springer journals. So this file is given to us directly by Springer. He says copy it to a new file with a new name and use it as the basis for your article. Delete %signs as needed. So what he has done is the whole file that you will receive will be commented out, but you uncomment whatever you want to include. So here, what we are doing is something we have defined here for file contents, for example, .eps, something of that kind here. and the various packages which are to be included here, they are already given, but we have uncommented only those. So this file seems slightly complicated, but you will notice whatever we wanted, only that part we have uncommented out here. So say use package, latex symmetry, use package, subfigure, AMS math, enumerate, graphic X, then SP verbatim, wherever we want to verbatim repeat something, then multi-column because we want it to be 2 column. Then there is a special package for math, which is there. Justification, it says, is for centering. So it is basically whether you would like to have a right centering, left centering, or centering for this particular thing, whatever is written out there. So I'll not go through the details. The details of this will be almost similar to what we had seen earlier. But what I want to point out to you here is this. It says simply /bibliography mybib. And mybib, there is a file there which is called mybib.bib in the directory. And that file has all the entries which I needed to make. So I have opened that mybib.bib file. You can see the library file. So it has entries like this. It has a keyword article. UR is, it starts with the keyword use. So wherever I refer, I will be referring /ref here. Author's name, title, journal name, year, month. They are all given there in this format. And when you call this, wherever you referred it, it will automatically pick up the entry from here and create a reference for you. As you can see in this file out here on the right hand side, I'll go to that last portion which shows you the same references as we had created earlier. So these are the references which are there. So I'll stop at this if there are any questions. For changing the row width, you can go to that. I had shown you in that particular file where we are defining uh, okay. For the row width in the wherever we are defining this particular file table, at the right at the top we can define the width. I'll show you that particular file if I can open it again. Yeah, here we defined it as 1.2. Here in this case of horizontal line, we can give the dimension, how much space we want to create between two horizontal lines. So when we put that, the row width will be changed. This with /h line, we can provide that out there.
Sir, there's one question
Yeah.
about how to include text inside a block diagram. I think we will be covering it in other sessions.
Okay.
So
Actually, in case of LTEC, it is more like the more you sit and explore, the more you learn. So maybe in another lecture that will be covered. So exactly the question is in the figure, how do you manipulate the text? Is it that?
yes, sir.
Actually, in one of these documents of IEEE, I looked up. I cannot recollect it immediately. I can maybe, if I find the answer, I'll post it often in the slide. It talked of it that there was a command which talked of slash PDF text LaTeX. There was some command like this which said that you can uh, change the text which is there inside the figure. Now, how to exactly include it, that I have not explored, but that is possible. Maybe in one of the following sessions, this question could be answered.
Yes, sir. So any other questions from the participants? Okay, this particular thing is, sir, you have shown some block diagram. So inside that block diagram, how did you include text? That is the question actually.
Uh, Actually, this text was there when we drew the figure, we put in the text then. This has not been done using the command which I had talked of. These figures were drawn, I think, in Noop. I don't remember how this was drawn. Actually, it was drawn by my student, but he included it when he drew the figure itself.
Sir,
So I can't really comment on that. But this other option, I think, would be much better. I am also going to explore it now. Today only I looked it up when I was going through this, the one which I have talked of.
there's another question on Visio.
I think on Visio, Chitrakant will be taking a session, I think. Oh, Chitrakant is the expert on Visio, so I think he would be the right person to answer the question.
Sir, Chitrakant is having a session, of course.
I think he'll be able to answer it much better than me.
How to convert a figure in 300 DPI format?
Well, when you usually save figures, whatever tool you might draw a figure in, it usually I would ask you for a somewhere it will ask you definitely in how many DPI you would like to convert it. So I think for our cases, mostly default should be 300 only. But Springer say in some cases it is asking for 800 DPI. So it should be possible to change the DPI while saving the figure.
So I think there are no further questions.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your
Thanks, Ravi, and
wonderful
thanks to
discussion.
the audience. Not the audience, I would say my fellow teachers for patient listening.
There's actually another question that has come up, sir.
Uh,
If I have 50 references,
hmm.
do we have to include each and every reference?
Yeah, what happens is usually in case of a conference paper, you might be restrained by the paper size. But if we are giving a reference to it, I mean, if I'm using it in my text somewhere, I should be definitely referring to it if I want to avoid charges of plagiarism.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you, love.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you, Bhargav sir.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks for the opportunity.
No, sir, it's, we are thankful that you have accepted request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So participants, tomorrow we will join again at 2 p.m. All log
रवि
out now. हाँ sir.
just सर से एक बार बात करके because we have to announce about the fees for tomorrow.
Vinay sir.
क्या बोलेंगे? Quiz I have announced at 6:30. Are you asking about quiz? Hello,
Bharat
Ravi.
sir. Sir.
Ravi.
Sir.
Ravi, I have announced quiz for 6:30 p.m.
Okay, sir.
Sir. So all participants have to attend quiz tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. on Canvas. So we are signing out now, sir.
Thanks, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.